chapter 9. Prahlad pacifies Lord Nrsimhadev with prayers. Text 39. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 All right, seconded by Sri Shyam the Peacock. Okay, we're just going to do that. Right, dive right into it. Naitan Manastava, no. Naitan Manastava Kast. Naitan Manastava Kastasu Vakunta Nata. Repeat it. Naitan Manastava Katasu Vakunta Nata. Sampriyate Duritita Dustam Asudu Tivram. Sampriyata Durita Dustam Asadum Tiram. Kamaturam Harsasoka Baya Sanaratam. Kamataram Harsasoka Baya Santa Sanartam. Tashmin Katam Tavagatim Vimusamidina. Tasmin Katam Tavagatim Vimusamidina. One more time. Naitan manastava katasu vakuntanata. Sampriyate duritudustam asudutiram. Kamataram harsasoka bayasanaratam. Tashmim katam tavakatim vimarsamidina. Anybody out there?
Naitan manastava katasu vaikuntanata sambriyate durita dushtamasadu divram kamaturam harshashoka payashanartam tasmin katam tavagatim vimrishamidinaha.
Naitan manastava katasu vikuntanata sampriyate durita dushtamasadu tivram kamaturam harsha shoka bayashanartam tasmin katam tavagatim vimrishami dinaha.
Anybody else?
Naitan manastava katasu vikuntanata sampriyate durita dushtamasadu tivram kamaturam harsha shoka bayashara chanartam tasmin katam tavagatim vimrishami dinaha.
Translation.
Hare Krishna. This verse is in the Vasantilatika meter, which has 14 syllables per pada. Each of the 4 lines is 1 pada. 2 padas together are an actual line of the Devanagari. But this particular verse, the 3rd pada has only 13 syllables rather than 14. And but the meter still works nicely because the last word, which is it's a compound word, but there is a diphthong that yai by yai is there is extra emphasis on it's a diphthong, the YAI. The way it works is that you hold you hold that syllable a little bit longer than you would otherwise. You just kind of linger on it, and so you have the effect of 14 syllables, even though there's only 13. When you have a syllable like that, it's referred to as guru, heavy. There in any given line, there will be many words that are categorized as guru. They get extra emphasis. Anyway, just a few
I
details
appreciate that.
about the verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So why would they, Vayai, why would that be one syllable a little different? Why would they do that? Just for poetic nuances, or?
Yeah, sometimes it's a if you think about what's required to express um, profound transcendental thoughts in what is essentially poetry, and simultaneously have it conform to a specific meter. It's nothing short of a miracle. It's miraculous. It requires incredible genius to compose these verses. Sometimes it happens that there is no way to have um, the words perfectly fit the meter and still be grammatically correct. But there there's still ways to make it work, and when you combine the words in the proper way, as was done in this case, in the third line, that one guru syllable makes 13 syllables become in effect 14 syllables, and you still have the perfect meter. So how Vyasadeva managed to do all of this is it's miraculous. It's incredible, and therefore he's an incarnation of Krishna himself, literary incarnation, extraordinary, and see, just absolutely amazing. If you study Sanskrit and all the rules that govern how everything works, and you see what was done in these verses, it's absolutely awesome. It's just incredible, absolutely incredible. No ordinary human being could do these things. These verses themselves, even if you don't understand what they mean, if you only understand what is involved in putting them together, it's kind of a proof of the existence of God all by itself, because without some extraordinary power, it's just not possible to do these things. It's miraculous. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's very nice. Well, let's go through the word for word. So, na, certainly not. They taught this. Manaha, mind, tava, your, atasu, in transcendental topics, Vaikunta nata, O Lord of Vaikunta, where there is no anxiety. Sampriyate is pacified or interested in. Burita, by sinful activities. Dushtam, polluted. Asadu, dishonest. Tibram, very difficult to control. Hama aturam, always full of different desires and lusty propensities. Harsa, shoka, sometimes by jubilation, sometimes by distress. Bhaya, and sometimes by fear. Sama, and by desiring. Artam, distress. Tashmin, in that mental status. Katam, how. Tava, your. Gatim, transcendental activities. Vim, Vimrasami, I shall consider and try to understand. Dina, who am most fallen and poor. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, where there is no anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty, being sometimes so-called happy and sometimes so-called distressed. My mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I'm therefore most fallen and poor in such a status of life. How shall I be able to discuss your activities? Let's purport here. Here, Prahlad Maharaj represents himself as a common man, although he actually has nothing to do with this material world. Prahlad is always situated in Vaikuntha, planets of the spiritual world. But on behalf of the fallen souls, he asks how. When his mind is always disturbed by material things, he can discuss the transcendental position of the Lord. The mind becomes sinful because we are always engaged in sinful activities. Anything not connected with Krishna consciousness should be understood to be sinful. Indeed, Krishna demands in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarvam Dharan Parichaja Mamikam Saram Raja Hamtam Sarve Pape Bhu Moksha Shisha Ma Sucha. Such a great verse. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. As soon as one surrenders unto the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna, Krishna immediately leaves one of the reactions of sinful activities. Therefore, one who has not surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord should be understood to be sinful, foolish, degraded among men, and bereft of all knowledge because of the atheistic propensities. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7:15. Hamam duskrito murpa papandake arada maha maya excuse me maya parata jnana asram bhavam asritaha. Therefore, especially in the age of Kali, the mind must be cleansed, and this is possible only by the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Saito Darbana Marjanam. Sorry about that. In the let's see. When the mind is completely cleansed of all sinful reactions, one can then understand his duty in the human form of life. This Krishna conscious movement is meant to be educate simple men so that they may become pious simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalu Nasteva, Nasteva Eva, Nasteva Eva Katir Anyatha. To cleanse the heart so that one may become sober and wise in this age of Kali, there is no value to any method other than the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prahlad Maharaj has confirmed this process in previous verses. Vad Vinya Gana Mahamrita Magna Sitaha. Prahlad further confirms that if one's mind is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, that very qualification will purify one and keep one purified always. To understand the Lord and his activities, one must free his mind from all contamination of the material world, and this one can achieve by simply chanting the Lord's holy name. Thus one becomes free from all material bondage. Let me read the translation one more time. Translation: My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, where there is no anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty, being sometimes so-called happy and sometimes so-called distressed. My mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I'm therefore most fallen and poor in such a status of life. How shall I be able to discuss your activities? Om Gyana Timiranda Shagananjana Slaka Chakshu Matama Tajme Shigure Namaha Om Mahavishnu Jai Namo Vishnuvedaya Krishna Saya Bhutale Srimati Satsvarup Das Goswami Chinamani Namo Vishnuvedaya Krishna Saya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurava Pachari Never says Shunyavadi Pasachas Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Sham is quite active today. He had a quite exciting weekend. I'd like to say thank you for everyone for this great weekend, for all the austerities everyone's performed. The devotees were quite pleased, which we know that's the essence of the whole Krishna consciousness is pleasing Dasana, Das, being of servant mindset, of serving the devotees. If they're pleased, then Guru is pleased, and then Krishna is pleased in that order. So this last paragraph of the translation is really simple but so impactful. I am therefore most fallen and poor in such a status of life. How shall I be able to discuss your activities? And just to merely to be able to discuss, you know, together in this sangha is so nice. You know, it's just I'm personally really appreciating being here and being in association with the devotees and associated with the deities and this project, this sacred farm. There's a lot going on here, and we're all so very fortunate, very, very fortunate. So it's interesting because Prabhupada brought up in the purport quite a few different times about sin and sinful and activities. Does anybody out there know um, what the definition in Spanish of without is? Without? Anybody Spanish influence out there? Nobody. It's interesting because the definition in Spanish of without is sin. It means without sin. It's like, so like Prabhupada says here at one point, if we, anything that keeps us from thinking of Krishna, keeps us without thinking of Krishna is sin. So we look at all the different, you know, languages, it's very similar in so many different areas. You know, this thing about sin. Um, association is, you know, like that last line to discuss activities. We can't even discuss activities without Srila Prabhupada's cosmos mercy bringing this path here for us. Of course, how do we take it from that? You know, he's created, like I mentioned quite a lot, this cup. You know, this cup has been created for us, and you know, with everything, we have everything here. We have everything here. But how do we use it? What do we fill that cup up with, and what mode of influence is it filled with? Are we trying to fill it up with something ignorant, passion, or goodness? You know, do we have holes in our path? And, you know, we chant and, you know, we follow the process, we follow the sadhana bhakti, you know, sadhana rules and all that stuff. But where, where, where are we going with it? You know, what, are we doing this transition every day? Are we working on it every day? Like His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami says in Surrender, you know, you know, if basically if we're offensive to one another, then nothing is revealed. Nothing is revealed. The cup's got holes in it. So that association about what Prabhupada said again, just about to discuss these activities puts us in that mindset. And you know, it reminds me of, I don't know, anybody has kids out there that you know, in Finding Nemo, it was I can't remember the name of that turtle, you know, but the turtle all he had to do was enter that stream. Anybody knows about the Gulf Stream? Being we lived in Florida, I mean, it's you see it. It's really active. It's quite interesting, and it's a very fast sub-level stream of current that it's like the superhighway. So they could just they know if they just get into that. Once you're in that stream, you're gone. Just like the airstream up in the jet planes, you know, they go faster route, they go higher up. At a certain point, they get into that increase of stream. So our Krishna consciousness is just like that. You know, we just have to follow that jet stream of Bhaktivinoda Dhara, you know, where it'll take us where we need to go if we follow the process, you know, and just you know, we have to follow the process somehow or other. I mean, it's just a waste of time if we do anything else ultimately. But you know, and um, Prabhupada lays it down here really nice. That second last paragraph. The mind must be cleansed. We have everything here to cleanse it. Like it says, possible only by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's interesting because a lot of times Srila Prabhupada will comment about, you know, any name of Krishna, any name of Krishna, any name of God will work and it's acceptable. But here he says possible only by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So even with that chanting, are we shadow chanting? You know, are we not flowing into that stream that has been given to us here? Are we going? Where are we going with our Krishna consciousness? Or is it just like a day-to-day thing? We're just kind of going through the motions and, do we have ruchi? Do we have that desire to change every day and every exchange that we're with devotees and non-devotees, for all of us that work up on the outside of the world? What is our exchange with the people? We need to learn from every exchange. Do we manifest a mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness in our response or in our mental mind? I know we don't get offenses in this age for our mind, but thinking, willing, feeling. So eventually it will take effect in our heart, come out of our mouth. Um, so most of us out here are married, the husbands and wives or partnerships come, whatever that partnership is. And like we have that saying, happy wife, happy life, So there's a little story. It's kind of, my wife will probably embarrass if she on here. I know she is. Oh man. I was going to write a book, which I never will. It's one of those books you think about, oh, I'm going to write this one day. So this book of life for me was, I meet people, my transportation business I've been doing with my wife for so many years now, and just people in general too. My book was about the 50 ways to succeed in marriage. And the first and foremost, I always share with anybody, just to break the conversation in a lighthearted way, is if you found the right person or not, especially if it's in a male, um, the number one rule is for a woman to view and to interview this person as a potential partner is, do they put the toilet seat down? It sounds very insignificant and kind of weird, but do we put the toilet seat down? And the reason why it's so important is it means we're in the service mindset. We're thinking about our poor wives who have to, touch the seat, which is pretty disgusting. And especially if you have kids, the kids gotta, they gotta be touching that seat, and it's disgusting. It spatters everywhere. So you put the toilet seat down. So the whole point is are we in the mindset of serving or just going through the motions, Just try to increase, our service mindset in a mode of goodness fashion. Because if we're not even in the mode of goodness, we can't serve properly. We're not making any benefit. We're just going through the motions of serving and mode of ignorance or passion. And it's not going to get us in that door, that bhakti door. Um, and I think the success with partnerships that most of us are in, if we make a mistake, but there really aren't mistakes in life. They're more like opportunities for creativity, like a problem. It really is an opportunity for creativity if we see it for what it is. That Krishna's presence is even in that so-called mistake or that problem. How do we deal with it? What state of mind do we deal with it? And we have exchanges with other people in our lives? How we're dealing with it? Is it beneficial for both of us in the exchange, or is it, one person is belittled, or it can slide in the mode of ignorance where neither party benefits, as the three modes just influence everything in our lives, and I think with this, I'm on a roll here. I got this value of association and proper association, healthy association is so important. As we know, we hear that all the time here. And Prabhupada talks about it all the time. If we're going to surrender the lotus to the Lord, we have to get through our atheistic propensities, which we're all atheistic by nature. And now we're up this uphill battle, or struggle, I should say, getting past all that atheism mindset. And that comes out to how do we relate to each other as devotees, Are we still, the atheistic impersonal nature still present? Are we working on how we get through that? So that kind of leads me to this story when, oh, my wife, is she still on? She is. There's another story, and this is a true story. When in high school, I played tennis my whole life. And first period, I remember going to class, and nobody would look at me. Nobody would look at me. It was weird. When you're 16 years old, you're kind of paranoid anyway, that that little pimple on your face is like a giant volcano. You're self-conscious, self-absorbed. Everything is so much bigger, so much more dramatic, so much more emotional, especially with any dads out there with daughters when they hit that 11, 12, 13. What happens, that kicks in. the hormones kick in. It's quite interesting journey. So nobody was looking at me. My friends, even my tennis player friends, people were not. They were avoiding my eyes. I just couldn't figure out what's going on here. That's it. I was getting very self-conscious. So I went through all day that day, and the same thing was happening every time. I just kind of getting kind of. It was very strange. I couldn't figure out what was going on. So classes or school's over with, and getting dressed up for tennis practice, and I go to the mirror and I look in the mirror and it's like, oh my gosh, there's a dried snot in my nose. And it just occurred to me then, and it occurs to me all the time now. Nobody said a thing. My so-called friends, nobody said a thing. Nobody, you know, touched their nose a little bit, even in, subtle, awareness, like maybe I'll catch on, like when you yawn and the other people start yawning around you. Something would have kicked in, but it didn't. Nobody told me all day long. So who is my friend in that situation? Who was my enemy? They were all my enemies. They didn't help me realize something was going on. I couldn't see it. So that's the importance of association. It's like, association is not always just, giant nectar bliss, fluff, fluff, and let's chant and dance and be merry and all that kind of stuff. Real association also is a double-sided gold coin there. It's for enlivenment, encouragement. It's wonderful. It's loving. It's sweet. And the other side of the coin, if you flip it over, and it's still the same value, is that it can reveal our illusions if we're open to it. If we're open to it, and that's the key thing. Are we open to it? Or are we just kind of puffed up or very puffed up? When I was in Bhakti program in San Diego, Biden Orion, now he left his body Maharaj, but Bhagavatam Prabhu at the time was our temple president. And he approached me one day and he said, Bhakti Kent, as you have a highly over exaggerated opinion of yourself. And I was like, in other words, you're puffed up. And it's like, I really appreciated that because it just was nice. I realized like, I still am really puffed up, but now my wife can tell me, I'll try to listen to it and, other people will say something and how do I react to them? So that's association is so important because how do we react to, our devotee relationships with each other? How do we respond to each other? Because if we're still foolish and we're still degraded, like Prabhupada says here, and we're bereft of all knowledge, because that atheistic impersonal nature is there. So we have to fight that current, we have to go against that current. Association will really let us know where we are at versus where we think we're at. Usually there's a pretty big gap, Are we open to hearing, our exchanges? How were those exchanges? What can we learn by those exchanges? That type of association is very valuable. I mean, it's better than, what's that saying? I know we talk about in Krishna consciousness about your enemy again is the one that flatters you, tells you nice things, and like sounds really good on paper, but you know, are they going to reveal in such a way, directly or indirectly, Krishna will lead that person in our lives? Will we learn? What can we benefit? How can we benefit? How can we melt this false conception and put Krishna in the middle? Get rid of our self-centeredness. It's like that perfume shop story. Um, you walk into a perfume shop, and the owner doesn't even have to be there. You know, you walk in the perfume shop, you walk around, and you don't even have to touch the bottles. When you walk out, people will smell that perfume on you. You may not smell it because at the time we were, overwhelmed with all the different smells, but all different perfumes. But when you leave, they'll smell it. And so associations like that, isn't it? It's like, if we're in the right association, the mode of goodness, it's going to have its effect whether we know it or not. That's the technology that Srila Prabhupada has given. And this process and the path, you know, and that's why Guru is the one that will give us that, you know, it's the perfume shop owner, you know, it will benefit by that association immensely. We'll take on those smells automatically, you know, the association will take on these qualities, you know, the 26 qualities of Vaishnavas, and there's so many nice devotees like came this weekend, such sweetness, you know. Hopefully all of us here, and it's still permeated in this hallway and in Prashad Hall, and the land benefits, you know, she, Nagari, she gave us everything here, you know. It was really nice even when we were leaving last night, we were in our ashram, and there was a kirtan going on, and it just took us right by. My wife and I both were like, wow, we're in Mayapur right now. This place, like Prabhupada said, like places like Kunta, where in the beginning, yeah, right. Oh, my Lord, dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, where there's no anxiety. It's interesting because, you know, being here, we get those glimmers. All of us do. I tend to forget and get caught up in, you know, that familiarity breeds contempt. Husband and wife kind of thing. You start taking each other for granted. And so when we we keep each other, you know, we're not in that association. We keep each other. We're not. That's the word I'm looking for. You know, familiarity breeding contempt. You know, we become disrespectful to one another, and it's very unfortunate. And we need to work on that in a daily thing. That's what Prabhupada's, you know, telling us about here. You know, it's very important. And actually, this translation is really nice. It's like it's packed with so many different dominoes to push on. You can talk about sex life. You can talk about everything that's part of this whole big package here. More money, seeking all this kind of thing, but we're so polluted. So, you know, and it comes down to association is so critical. And we have association here with this community. You know, this community, our community here, we like in this purport, we have to go, we have to purify. And this, we have to follow the process. The technology Prabhupada has given us and laid out. You know, and by following that, you know, this community here that as individuals, everyone here is so sweet, and yet we still have our rough edges, you know, and this community needs to heal. We need to sit together and chant and, you know, cry one tear together. You know, it's like a husband and wife when I make a mistake, when I have an opportunity for creativity, I do something stupid or whatever, just, you know, not being considerate, leaving the toilet seat up or whatever it is, we need to come together and apologize. Apologize is huge. It's the Shikshastakam prayers rolled up in a ball, you know. If we can't apologize to one another and how we act, like a devotee a couple of days ago called up very sweetly. She said, my husband and I want to apologize for, you know, we realized we were being offensive. It's like I didn't take an offense, but you know, they were cooking and they were told not to cook for devotees, and so some of us we don't take the normal prasadam. It's prasadam, which is very sanctified, of course, but some of the ingredients are not so. My body reacts to it, says my wife. So they didn't make extra. So anyway, they felt really bad. So they called them apologizing. Apologizing is just so important in partnerships of any type, isn't it? We have to apologize when we've done something, when we have wronged somebody, we have to apologize. If we don't, then we will not enter that gate, you know. It'll be a long, 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 long time before we are allowed into the gates of Vaikuntha. What's the Krishna Loka? We have to apologize. We have to be humble. And if we're humble, humility is there, they won't be apologizing. And you know, you know, Christians use that word repent. Repent doesn't mean, you know, repenting is nice, but there's a repenting in the mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And repenting in the mode of ignorance is like your passion. You could say, well, yeah, I suck. He's like, no, you know, repenting, real repenting is seeing where we're at and rectifying the situation where we need to go, melting, getting rid of these blocks that are keeping our hearts in a stagnant state. And that's by association. So we have that opportunity today, just like we had this weekend of Sangha. Sadhu Sangha is not just, a traveling sannyasi coming in and, inspiring us, and that's really good. Sadhu Sangha, we have that every moment with each other. And Guru will go through that individual. So we have that Sangha here, Just come together if you can today for Ekadasi. It's only 4 hours. I know there's that wonderful yoga classes going on, and come for 10, 15 minutes here and go to the yoga class and come by from work. And we need, this virtual stuff is nice, but it's not like the perfume shop, you know. If we're together, the energy that we're together, generating together, will assist our hearts. And virtual's nice, but it's keeping our relationships in that more impersonal, atheistic corner of our devotional world. So the more we can come together physically, the better, And maybe we'll cry out a tear together, for Ekadasi. It's right around the corner. It's here right now, And there's I call it transformational humility and submission. I'm sorry, apologize to Srila Prabhupada, our gurus, the community. Individual through group humility, there's another phrase I call it. It's highly contagious. It's very important. It's very necessary. Now, Prabhupada says in the last paragraph, to understand the Lord, and this is really critical, to understand the Lord and his activities, one must free his mind from all contamination of the material world. And thus one can achieve by simply chanting the Lord's holy name. Thus one becomes free from all material bondage. That's huge, to understand the Lord and his activities. So we can study all day long, but what's our mindset? What's our mood? What are we absorbing? And what is it? Ignorance, passion, or goodness in trying to understand the activities? Prabhupada always said, it's a razor's edge. We're on it without realizing it. We're off of it without realizing it. You can have it in 1 second for the easy, and difficult for the difficult. So to free our mind from all contamination of the material world by simply chanting the Lord's holy name, we got to do it in the mode of goodness. We can't just whip out 16 rounds minimum, and that's nice. It's good sukriti, but our hearts are still contaminated, and we're not going to get free from the bondage. It's material bondage. It comes down to our association again and again and again. Where are we with each other? The material, the non-awakened devotees that exist. How are we together? So I'm going to stop there. Any comments, questions, corrections? I'm going to read the translation. My dear Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, where there is no anxiety, my mind is extremely sinful and lusty. Being sometimes so-called happy and sometimes so-called distressed, my mind is full of lamentation and fear, and it always seeks more and more money. Thus, it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. That's the same with that last chapter, that last paragraph. Thus it has become most polluted and is never satisfied in topics concerning you. I'm therefore most fallen and poor in such a status of life. How shall I be able to discuss your activities? Any comments, corrections, additions, any thoughts?
I have thoughts.
Please.
I have comments. I want to share a little something that correlates to some of what you discussed, and I want to thank you for your class. I'm especially appreciating your reminder of the importance, the value of serving devotees. Vaishnava Seva is a very important uh, it's like a cornerstone of devotional service. It's foundational. It's very important. So in connection with this, there is a nice verse in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the 21st chapter, text 39. Yat seva sesha guha shaya svarad vipra priyas tushyati kaman ishvara tad eva tad dharma parar vinitai sarvatmana brahma kulam nishev means the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everlastingly independent and who exists in everyone's heart, is very pleased with those who follow in his footsteps and engage without reservation in the service of the descendants of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, for he is always dear to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and they are always dear to him. Srila Prabhupada says in his purport, it is said that the Lord is most pleased when he sees one engaged in the service of his devotee. He does not need any service from anyone because he is complete, but it is in our own interest to offer all kinds of services to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When these services can be offered to the Supreme Person, not directly, but through the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, but it is in our own interest to offer all kinds of services to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These services can be offered to the Supreme Person not directly, but through the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings, Shadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Payeche Keba, which means that unless one serves the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, one cannot get liberation from the material clutches. And just a side note here, that of all Vaishnavas, of all devotees, the understanding is that the greatest of all devotees is the spiritual master. So therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, and Srila Prabhupada says, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. By satisfying the senses of the spiritual master, one can satisfy the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, this behavior is not only mentioned in scriptures, but also followed by acharyas. Prithu Maharaj advised his citizens to follow the exemplary behavior of the Lord himself and thus engage in the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you for bringing that up, It's like, remind me what you were talking about, like, the 4 Kumaras, how they come into the gate and the gatekeepers wouldn't let them in, right? Because they were exalted devotees, but they still had some impersonal conceptions, and they didn't gain access at that point. So what to speak of us, isn't it? It's like, we're never going to gain access to Krishna's world, Do we just are we borderline karma yogis, a little bit of bhakti, but, we don't want that. We want to go all the way. Anybody else have any thoughts, comments, corrections?
I have a question for Taraka Prabhu in regards to Vaishnava Seva. You are our dear neighbors, and I always wonder, because we never see you. Of course, we see and hear you online, but is there anything that we can do for you? Because I always wonder, do you need anything? Do you need any assistance with anything? Because we see everyone else during the day, but I'm wondering, is there anything that we can do for you or your dear family? Please let us know. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Like 5 minutes, but
Hare Krishna, good morning.
good morning.
Thank you so much for your class, Prabhu. It was just wonderful. And I really appreciated how you made it practical by sharing stories from your real life. And and then some of the analogies. What it made me think of though was Bhagavad Gita in the 13th chapter, verses 8 through 12, where it's really speaking about how we can practically function in association, both with Vaishnavas and with the rest of the world. And the first four things really talk about interactions and associations: humility, pridelessness, nonviolence, tolerance, simplicity. And in Sri Shapanishad, Srila Prabhupada goes on to expand on those things in his purport. And the first five, one should become a perfect gentleman himself and learn to give proper respect to persons other than himself. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, mind, or words. One should learn forbearance, even if there is provocation from others. One should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. And when you spoke about the toilet seat, I thought about in my own life, both having sons and a husband, but also just the things that bring anxiety to others, and to make an apology, we really do have to put ourselves somewhat in that empathetic state of how am I affecting someone else, and stop thinking only about me. You know, what is that saying? I'm not much, but I'm all I think about. And so to think about others in that way and to make a real apology, not to assume that I know how I offended you, but maybe to take the time to listen and ask you, how did that affect you? And how can I do better? You know, what would be more useful? What sometimes I will ask people when I'm doing something like that, what did I do that was okay? And what would you never want to see happen again? Like, what can I do way less of and take that off the plate? And it makes it very practical. And I love it because you spoke about how far away we can be from the gates of Vaikunta and not even realize it. And I think it's so important to realize that's the goal, but my feet are on the ground right here. And this is where I get to practice in reality what I'm going to need when I get there. And I think about Krishna speaking to Arjuna and telling him all this amazing information about what's to come, but also saying, but right about now, you need to fight because that's what you're called to do. That's your dharma. And he also told him, and if you don't, it's not going to go well here or hereafter. So I just love the practicality of your teaching this morning. And it gave me so much to think about, including that, yes, when I chant, I'm chanting and I'm being changed, but I have to cooperate with those changes. Hare Krishna.
That's nice. Thank you. I need to apologize to my wife and everybody out there if I was offensive in any way, but my two disgusting stories, because they always grab one's mind. It's like, they always grab, it's like, you know, so many Bhagavatam classes we sit through, and, you know, there's a Srila Prabhupada disciple who left his body a while ago, Advaitacharya down in San Diego, and he gave class, and he started his class, and he said, we're going to talk about sex. And everybody that was falling asleep just woke right up. You could see him. And he pointed and he goes, just see, these brahmacharis now are alert. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like, it kind of grabs your mind, but it's true, what do we have in our nose? What do we have? I can't see it. What's somebody? Oh, okay. Um, we're so fortunate. Really love to see this community. We have to apologize to one another. We're never going to go anywhere. We can't get close. We're not even scratching. We're following the four Kumars, but we're way behind the four Kumars. We're still impersonal. You know, apologizing makes all the difference in the world. It's 1 second. You know what? You reminded me. The Bhagavad Gita leads us to the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam leads us to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all those three volume, unlimited capacity of Vedic knowledge passed down leads us to the Shikshastakam prayers. We study those. And all the imports of all the Vedas are automatically revealed. So Shastra covers everything. So simple, but so detailed. You know, especially the first three verses, you know, there are three sharings. That sets the stage for the rest of the other 5 verses. So I think it's probably getting time. Just thank you everybody for association, and let's really work on apologizing to one another. We have to, because if we can't apologize for something that we've said or done, we're never going to get anywhere. You got to be real. Not going to happen. Not going to happen in the least bit. So it takes a lot. It takes a real person to apologize. Humility. It's a rough one. Any other thoughts? I don't hear the conch blowing yet or being thumped.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Jai,
What's
as always.
this?
This is Jagannath Pandit Das.
Oh, it says Moto G Power. It's like,
One that came up.
nice to see. Nice to see you this morning. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, wonderful class. So I was just thinking about what you were just talking about apologizing, how we need to apologize, and how that takes humility, you know, and you know we may take this for granted, vanchaka patribhishcha kripasinabhyevacha. But every time we see a devotee, um, that's what we're supposed to do, actually. And
You can do
with heart, with heart.
Yeah. Are they ready? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so
no, keep going. I'm going to take you to the Tulsi. It's okay.
wow.
Don't stop. It's a beautiful flow you're on, you know. So I'm just going to go for a little journey. Please continue that stream, and we'll come back and see the deities in a minute.
Wow, now I feel like I'm taking you away from the deities.
No. I'm serving the devotees. That's it. You know, it's a little loud in here though. I'm just going to stay right here. But yeah, no, please continue
But
if you would.
often we don't realize. I like what Leela Kishore was saying, that how did that affect you and what can I do better? Because often we're not aware of the impact that we have on people, on the bodies, and in that way we can be offensive. But I was realizing that it's important to assume that we are offensive because we're not pure. You know what I mean? And
Well,
there's the
isn't when you come into the Pujari room, right? As soon as you come into that, there's the signs are up there for, I read it, all the Pujaris are supposed to read it like before and after. And it's just, there's that one paragraph in there. It's just like, yeah, we do nothing correct. Really, we don't do anything really correct. That's the direction we need to come from, isn't it? We're so obtuse. We don't even know. We have no idea. Oh, you're so sweet.
so
Thank you.
so even before we call on the holy name, we chant the 10 offenses,
Yeah.
and that encompasses everything. If we really are attentive to those 10 offenses as we read them, that can help us with our attentiveness in chanting and attentiveness in our associations and the decisions we make that impact others and so on.
Thank you.
And beg forgiveness.
Yeah.
That really takes humility.
Yeah, doesn't
I
it?
was thinking about how you had mentioned about surrender earlier in the class too. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj talks about surrender is not based on what we do or what we give. Because we can appear to give so much and do so much, but he said that surrender is really based on what we're holding back.
Exactly.
We're hanging on to and what we're still attached to. That we're gripping tightly in our hands, in our hearts. And so the other connection with that is that it's impossible to get to Krishna without going through his devotees. Tarka Prabhu is touching on this. And if we in the purification of association, stop associating, stop connecting with Krishna, stop looking in the mirror, stop allowing ourselves to be purified, then we're saying, okay, Krishna, I don't really want you because I'm not going through your devotees. Because devotees can be instruments of our karma. Krishna shows up through devotees for us to learn our lessons. I was reading this book, still in the process of reading it, by Mahatma Prabhu, and it's called Living the Wisdom of Bhakti, Life as a Spiritual Practice. And I'll read a section of it real quick. He says, we all need struggles to keep us on our toes and strengthen us. If Maya doesn't kick us from time to time, the process of surrender can be slow. We need to be pushed by obstacles. It is Krishna's kindness that he tests us in this way. And it is also Krishna's kindness that he helps us get through the tests. And he said, look at it this way. If anyone forces us to take more shelter of Krishna, that person is our best friend. So it is important to understand that Maya is not actually our enemy. She is on our heels to challenge our Krishna consciousness. And if Maya kicks us in that way, in a way that pushes us towards Krishna, she is doing us a great service.
Yep.
When we pass her test, she herself will help us go to Krishna.
Yeah, it's true. It's like in Christianity, it's, if you ever meet a Christian, tell them that Satan's your best friend, and they always freak out. But it's like, yeah, you see Satan coming, you're going to go the other way. So, Maya's, she's she's helpful. She's helpful. She's pushing us towards Krishna, really. Yeah, if we see it that way. If we see it that way.
Yeah,
Well,
so
oh, go on.
last thing is that Maya can help us see ourselves. As we go through the process of practice bhakti, it gradually removes the illusion. Because we're cleansing the dust from the mirror of the heart so we can really see in the mirror, we can really see ourselves.
Yeah.
And we have to see the ugly before we can actually see the beauty, you know what I mean? Or access the beauty. And that beauty is not really us, it's our service to our pleasing Krishna. That makes devotees beautiful. How much we can please Krishna and the devotees. So thank you for being beautiful, Prabhu. Sorry for taking so long.
Oh, you're beautiful. Now let's go look at some real extended beauty here, greater beauty than we can all imagine. See what's going on here.
Sorry for taking you on that beauty.
Oh, no, you didn't take me.
Shri,
You
Shri,
came, look at all that. So beautiful. Look at that.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
I love that outfit. So nice. Jai. Hey, well, look at that man. Go to Hari. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Oh, yeah. Oh, nice. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Did you see that? Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Guru Charan Padma Kevala Bhata Chichi Gadam Guru Charan Padma Kevala Bhata Chichi Gadam Guru Charan Padma Kevala Bhata Chichi Gadam Yahara Chudare Nishta Baba Joviya Jahri Hara Chudare Nishta Baba Joviya Jahri Krishna Prati Hoy Prati Hoy Padma Rakya Chujete Goriya Aisha Padma Rakya Chujete Goriya Anakori Hamane Sha Sha Guru Charane Rakhi Ete Dama Rakhi Guru Devasari Pore Tara Jana Devasari Pore Tara Japudan Jame Jame Prabhu Jame Yajam Prabhuti Yajam Prabhuti Prema Bhakya Abhijam Nata Jati Jaya Jamarachari Jaya Guru Aramadana Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada. That's all. Because Never day, never. Gayatri Krishna. Hey, Kanya. Hey, Kanya. Prabhu Radha Shiva Nagari Krishna Vedana Vedana Shiva Go Bhakta Vrinda Krishna 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 Hari 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavatam Astakar Divine Grace AC Bhagavatam. Those who follow Nagari, I don't wish to those who see the power. That's not right. Now, friend, those figures the Naha. Lost gold up in Puja. She said, Radha Krishna, Loga Shama Kunha, Kundi Yoga. No, I have a key. Nice. Also, our glories on glory, Hare Krishna. Our glories, some of the devotees. Our glories, some of the ladies in the day. Shura. I'm going to do Nagari, Gita, Gita, the dread of the day from last day, attending him, hanging out there with meetings, you and I. Really nice. We all like, nice, 3-4 days. How would you run kicking out? What's that? Still the balance that's studying runs. She said they ran out pretty much. Killed it. They did $1,000. Like just on hers. $1,000 on the food. On everything. On cooking, wow. Yes. Seeing it all happen. I didn't think it was going to be that much. Burgers sold out. Yeah, that's good. Did you make that out? Yeah. Is any hummus left? Probably not. What's that? Probably not any hummus. There's probably some left. Is that what you're asking? Yeah, hummus. Oh, I don't know. I didn't look. I made 82 rolls. You did? So, yeah. I don't know if they